Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here with my colleagues from across the country, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank my co-chair, Mr. Minister Ron Kostyshyn, and his team for the warm welcome here in Winnipeg. You certainly showed us some great hospitality, and it was certainly appreciated by all of us. Look, there was lots of solid collaboration and discussion at the table amongst our FPT ministers in attendance over the past 2 days. I want to put it into perspective with this group because I think it's extremely important, and I think it was R.J. Sigerson that said this. When the door closes in this meeting room, he said the partisan politics stays outside. We all care about this industry deeply, and I couldn't be more proud to be Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, but I also couldn't be more proud to have these guys standing behind me. So present at our scrum today is R.J. Sigerson of Alberta, Daryl Harrison of Saskatchewan, John Strickery, Yukon, Trevor Jones, Ontario, Pat Finnegan of New Brunswick, Greg Merrill of Nova Scotia, Bloise Thompson of PEI, and my Parliamentary Secretary, Sophie Chattel, who I think it's extremely important to have her here as well. Our meeting comes at a time when producers across the country are facing many pressures, from tariffs to extreme drought conditions affecting key farming regions across our nation. You know, we're here today to talk a little bit about, we had great discussions on many aspects and many issues across the country. Tariffs obviously being front and center, trade. And to support our canola growers, on Friday, our Prime Minister Carney announced that the interest-free limit on canola advances under the Advance Payment Program will increase to $500,000 for the 25-26 program years. We fully understand that this is not going to resolve any of the issues, but we feel that it's important because some farmers will take advantage of that. We announced other programs as well on the agri-marketing side. We announced strategic investments, $5 billion on a SURF fund. We announced our regional tariff support of about another $1 billion. So these are the types of programs that we're offering, and we know it's not the end solution, but it's certainly something that we need to execute to ensure and let farmers know that we have their backs, and we will continue to have their backs. First and foremost, farmers support this to some extent, but also what they want is they want the markets open, and we get that. We got that message. We've traveled and toured farms in the last couple of days. One specifically in the canola and one in dairy. And it was extremely important for us to hear what the farmers are going through. And they're going through a lot, and I sympathize with them. It's not easy with the uncertainty that's created with these tariff and the geopolitical trade situation that we find ourselves in. So it's a very difficult time for farmers. It's something that we discussed at length in this room this week. And it's something that we're all attentive to, and we're going to do everything in our power to accomplish more for the farmers. And I'll say this, very eagerly, that when the farmers are successful, all of us up here are successful. And that is not lost on us. There's lots of challenges around the world. Some of them we can control and some of them we can't. So we'll continue to do that. Other things that we talked about were red tape reduction, specifically through CFIA and PMRA. We talked that we need a stable regulatory environment. We need an even playing field with our countries that we trade with. And we need to expedite those decisions much more quickly and much more effectively. We talked about infrastructure, transportation, and logistics. It's something that's extremely important. And we know that there's a Canada Build new office that's been designated, and some of those issues hopefully will be applied to the agriculture sector. We talked about business risk management programs. Extremely important in what we face each and every day, from the environmental issues that many farmers are facing, and including forest fires and drought, disease. We talked about animal health, which is extremely important. We talked about food security. And we talked about food safety. I had the opportunity to travel to Indonesia, Singapore, and Manila, and I can tell you, first and foremost, they recognize Canada as a food safety, food security country. They recognize Canada as a trading partner that they can trust. We have to continue to build on that. We build on that alongside resolving the issues of the day with trade and tariffs with China and the United States. We must continue to diversify. We must continue to domesticate as much as possible here in Canada. We must continue to build on our strengths. So in other words, basically, we need to control what we can control, alongside not losing the fact that it's such an important aspect of trade in this industry, in these sectors. So we're going to continue to do that. And with the support of these gentlemen and ladies standing behind me, it is a real acknowledgement to them of the collaboration that they've showed representing their own governments. Everything that we do, we need to do it together. Politicians come and go. We've seen 2 politicians just this week that are resigning and not running again. Farmers are generational. They need to survive. We need them to survive. They don't just feed Canadians, they feed the world. And that's not lost on us. Trade is the lifeblood of our farm businesses, but the global trading environment is certainly changing. We need to build new partnerships. Of course we do. But we also need to enhance what we're doing here at home. We heard this message loud and clear from a panel of industry experts from across the agriculture and agri-food value chain over the past day and a half. And I just wanted to, I won't go into too much more detail, but I also wanted to let everyone know that there's been a change in chair, and Minister Greg Morrow will be at our annual meeting next year as a host and chair of the committee. And I also want to take a moment to thank Ron Kostyshyn for his past chairmanship as of now, I guess, and everything that he has done. Look, these jobs are not easy, but when you have worked together as a unit like we have, and they have over the past couple of years, things become much more supportive for the industries and sectors. And I'll leave it at that, but I want farmers to know that we're doing everything possible to make them successful, sustainable, and to ensure that the next generation coming up to farm can have the same opportunities that their forefathers had. And now I'll turn it over to Minister Ron.
Good afternoon. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone, and it's truly my pleasure. First and foremost, Minister MacDonald, it's a great pleasure to have you here, and what an excellent communication we had the last 2 days regarding agriculture. But I also want to thank our provincial ministers in attendance and territorial colleagues. This is what we talk about communication. We obviously are dealing with challenges in the canola front and international trade. But this is a room that we sat together as one team to work out the importance of agriculture across Canada, regardless of where we are in Canada and the territories. And I want to assure the general public, we are all ministers very sincere of making agriculture what it should be, and we continue to work. And I want to again indicate the importance of Minister MacDonald and the federal government's intervention. When we had an opportunity to meet with canola producers in their shop just a couple of days ago, it was representatives of the Canadian Canola Council, Manitoba Council, a number of farm producers. As we sat around the table and had a heart-to-heart discussion, they realized the challenges we face. The team behind us realized the challenges we face. And as Mr. MacDonald indicated, we hear them. We will continue to work with the canola producers. Agriculture, number one, in the future, not only today, but into the future. You know, we've made some positive progress in international trades, and there's always room for improvement, and I just want to assure the public and the producers out there, we have such a great opportunity of added value opportunity in the agriculture industry. And this is a time where we get together with our fellow ag ministers and the federal agriculture minister to start building that model, and we know that we can improve on agriculture not only in one province but across Canada. And I often refer to this as Team Canada is here, and we are going to continue to work for the betterment. Our communique as you have seen, reflects on a strong spirit of collaboration and ongoing shared commitment to Canadian agriculture sector. As we all know, agriculture has a rich value in our history in this country. It's leading to an economic driver, as I indicated earlier. And I want to let media know for joining us today. I want to thank them for joining us today, because there is no better way to bring out our message today of what we've discussed at the FPT across the last two and a half days. I think I'll stop at that, but I do want to say that we will continue to work on behalf, and I'm very proud to be the representative for Manitoba agriculture in the province of Manitoba. And being a farmer for 40 years of my life, I know the challenges what producers are going through. And I want to commit all ministers that are behind me and the federal agriculture minister. We value their occupation, the challenges and the risks they take every day. But we'll work together to make things better, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ministers. We'll now proceed with the question and answer session, starting with the media in the room. If you want to line up at the microphone, media will have one question, one follow-up, and then we'll proceed with the questions online as timing allows.
This mic?
And please state your name and outlet.
Yeah, I'm Ed White with Reuters News Agency, and right now in China there is a Canadian political delegation trying to deal with the canola trade issue. And I'm wondering, Mr. MacDonald, what you have heard back from there, if anything, and I guess what we can reasonably expect from that mission.
Well, I think thank you for the question. I think we haven't been debriefed as of today, obviously, but Premier Scott Moe and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister are there meeting with officials, and it's part of the process is reestablishing those ties and those friendships front and center for the Chinese government, and a big part of that, but I will likely be debriefed in the next couple of days in Edmonton.
And right now, there isn't much of the 2024 canola crop left. The 2025 is coming in literally right now, today, as we speak. There's a bit of a gap here to get a deal with China, but if there isn't a deal within weeks, canola could start piling up. How are you going to deal with that? And the canola industry has complained that there's not nearly enough aid from the federal government so far. What will happen if this drags on?
Well, I think there's two parallels, Ed, to your question. I think there's been some announcements here in the past week by the Prime Minister relevant to support. But first and foremost, we fully understand that we want the market open. That's number one. It's number one among producers, and that's what we're going to work towards. And look, we're going to do it and take this day by day. It's a very fragile situation that we find ourselves in with the Chinese, but having Premier Moe in China and officials engaging at the highest level is important to get this resolved as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, I'm Gabby with the Winnipeg Free Press. Kind of building off of his question, there has been criticism that there's not enough support for the canola sector's value chain. So is there going to be, is that something that you're looking at? Are there more kind of supports coming for that value chain?
Yeah, certainly. I think, we talked about something that has been talked about for a number of years and finally has come to the forefront, and that's biofuels and biodiesel. To ensure that we're looking at that, if we can domesticate some of that product here in Canada and through the clean fuel regulations revisions or amendments, that's going to take some time, but it's also something that I think producers are asking for. We know that it can help. It's not going to be the end answer, but it's certainly a process that we need to go through, and but we also need to do it alongside the canola growers and those associations that are represented. We need to know what those amendments need to be relevant to and ensure that we're doing everything possible that's going to expedite those.
Thanks. And for Minister Kostyshyn, why are you leaving as chair?
Why am I leaving as chair? That's the standard protocol as far as. No, it's a rotation of chairs, and it was truly my honor to chair here, and this is probably one of the best behaved people that I had to attend at a meeting, but sometimes these agriculture producers are very challenging, but very well behaved group of people behind me. But no, FBT is just based on the province that's hosting it, and that's where the Ag Minister is, so hopefully I answers your question. Okay.
Hi, this is Zabina from CBC Manitoba. So there's been a lot of talks about of dropping tariffs on Chinese EVs, and that might help the canola industry. So has the government thought about that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's we haven't been told exactly what China wants through that communication, but that's certainly something that we're looking at. I believe on Friday, Prime Minister Carney mentioned in his speech when we were doing the announcements on agri-marketing and the advanced payment program and the biofuels announcement, plus the other strategic investments, mentioned about Canadians deserve cheaper electric cars. So, and the EV situation in Canada is being reviewed right now. It's being repealed a little bit, and so that is something that we're looking at very, enhanced through those discussions. And it'll be interesting to hear what Premier Moe comes back with, and if that's part of that discussion.
And overall, in terms of the funding, will there be any increase in the funding, because a lot of farmers are not really happy with the federal funding, which Mark Carney just announced? So do you think it will be reviewed?
Well, we said that it wasn't the end. And look, we met with canola growers. We were in the fields with them 2 days ago, and we talked about the funding and the different types of funding, the 5 streams that are there right now. You know, there is one stream, the SURF program, what they call the SURF program, was only basically for automotive, steel, and aluminum. Now there's a line item in there that canola is there, and it's a $5 billion program. So we have to define and do a communication on how that could affect farmers positively if it's required. So certainly there's lots more to do, without a doubt, but we're willing to do it, and I think the Prime Minister was very clear, this is a start.
Okay, thank you.
Karen Briere, Western Producer. I'm wondering what, if any, concrete measures came out of this meeting that would help farmers be more competitive?
Doesn't matter.
Both of you.
You know what? I think there is red tape review. I think all of us, to be quite honest, we're a little surprised at the process that we've seen, positively in that regard. I think CFIA right now is, I think they addressed 20 regulations, and correct me somebody if I'm wrong, 20 regulations that are moving forward relatively quickly. It's all important for us as a body, and I think it's given us an opportunity with everything that we're going through here to be more direct and more precise and use speed and agility to make some of these decisions. And I think the bureaucracy is fully understanding the impairment that it can place on a regulatory burden or impediment. We require to be equal playing field with our trading partners. We require an economic lens to be put on some of those decisions. So I think we've made progress in that. They've heard us loud and clear, and they will continue to hear us loud and clear. Each and every one of us up here, I can tell you right now, agree to that. There's something in value and policy sometimes that doesn't even cost a lot of money. And that's important to recognize. But we need the bureaucracy and those departments to expedite some of those decisions.
Yeah, if I could chime in on that, and I think business risk insurance programs is, first and foremost high level, right? We're obviously in trade disputes with China right now, but it's a reality of business in the global marketplace. For companies of agriculture producers, we need to have more of a solid foundation of business risk insurance programs, not only dealing with environmental or climate conditions, but there needs to be, as the federal government made an announcement earlier, the Ag Stability Program has been enhanced, opportunity of additional cost buck. But I think that equation needs to be also measured again because things do change, costs continue to rise. Simplifying the equation of ag stability, I think, is key. You know, and at the end of the day, as Minister MacDonald indicated, I want this to be known that as we met with agriculture producers, we met with the Canola Growers Association, Canadian and provincially. To me, the number one thing is that we not only talk to farmers, but we talk throughout the entire food chain of individuals. How can we address this any more different than what maybe this is going to be challenges that we're all going to be faced with from here on in. But I think sometimes maybe we need to go to the audience, ask the appropriate questions, because as a producer, and I was one of those victims that would often be critical, but also sometimes it's very helpful. What are some of your suggestions moving forward, how we can address these issues in the long run? And I don't think a lot of them are going to be 100%. But to me, communication is the definition of how we work together for opportunity for agriculture producers and for the betterment of the economy in Canada, not only today but into the future.
On the matter of BRM programs, I know you made some changes to agri-stability in July. Were further changes discussed? Is anything coming down the pipe in that regard?
I would honestly say I think it's until the harvest is done, and you know, as you do the ag stability template of forming out, I guess we'll see what the end results will be. Hopefully, it's positive that producers don't have to use the ag stability program, but obviously it's designed to help out on average, you know, accounting opportunities for agriculture producers.
Hi, Robert Arneson from the Western Producer. In your opening remarks, you mentioned that it's important to maintain a level playing field when it comes to regulations. As of right now, is Canada's ag industry at a disadvantage when it comes to regulatory issues?
Quite honestly, I think in some cases we may have been. I think we need to expose where those that level of instability is in the regulations to ensure that any decisions that are being made, Robert, are made with a focus on what are our trading partners actually, how do they address those regulations and policy, and how does that affect our farmers here in Canada? And that's extremely important, and I think anybody around here will agree that we need to, but the other side of this is the timing and the speed that we take to adjust. That's a cause for concern at some times. We're starting to see a change in that. We've seen a presentation here yesterday or today on CFIA, and we've seen a change in that. But we need to keep pushing that, and we need to expedite those decisions as quickly as possible, because it's not just an unfair trading, possibly trading policy, but it's economics. We can't have our farmers at a disadvantage.
Follow up, I understand that PMRA reps were at the meeting. How did that go, and what did you communicate to them about the need to speed up decision-making and regulatory reform?
Well, I think it's basically the same. It's the same story. We need faster communications. We need the science to be done as quickly as possible on anything that they decide that maybe for human health or environment issues that they're not going to allow us to use it anymore. We need to understand what the alternatives are. We need the alternatives, and we need time to adapt to those alternatives. And again, those alternatives have to be in the same realm of cost as what we were using before. So sometimes this stuff becomes market driven. And if we can't access a product that we've used for the past 20 years and then all of a sudden have to change that product, we want to ensure that that product's a very similar cost. Because it's at the end of the day, it's the farmers that are paying. So those are the types of conversations we had. But in general, I think we were pretty pleased with some of those conversations that we had the last 2 days. I think we're seeing advancements in CFIA and PMRA, and we hope that continues. But I think overall, I think I can speak for myself, but I was actually impressed to the extent that they're focused on this. They're hearing us. Our ministers talk about it all the time. And so I think, kudos to them for coming here and showing us how they're adapting.
Thank you.
We'll now proceed with questions for folks joining virtually.
Thank you, Annie. A reminder that the virtual question and answer period is reserved for members of the media. One question, one follow-up will be permitted. Merci, Annie. Il nous rappelle que cette période de questions et réponses est réservée aux médias. Une question et un suivi par médias seront permis. So the first question is from Mark Zinkowitz from Seedworld. Please go ahead.
Hi, Minister MacDonald. I'm just wondering if you think the CFIA's seed regulatory modernization initiative will be a boon to producers and the industry in general?
Thank you for the question. I think there's consultations process that they're going through, and hopefully that the producers are certainly going to voice their concerns if they have any with the process. So I haven't heard any other references to it negatively, so I'll look forward to the process going forward. I think that's what he said.
Do you have a follow-up, Mark?
Not at this time, no.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So next question will be from Judy Trin at CTV News. Judy, please go ahead.
Thank you for taking our questions. This question is for both ministers. First, if I can ask Mr. Ron from Manitoba, can you tell me if the agriculture ministers from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba are unanimous that there should be some type of loosening of the EV tariffs on China as part of negotiations for a better canola deal? And Mr. MacDonald, if you could address whether or not that is even possible right now.
I will entertain the question. You know what? It's not only the three Prairie provinces that need to have discussion regarding the EU. It basically resorts to Canada-wide discussion because there are circumstances that, as you try to address the problem that exist, there may be repercussions from a higher level of opportunity. So I think that communication needs to be with all provinces, including the federal agriculture minister and federal government.
Hi, Judy. It's Heath MacDonald. But look, we are in a very volatile situation, and I like to refer to it, and I think it was referred to by one of the ministers the same this week, as a triangulation. So every decision that we make as a federal government, we want to ensure that we're not jeopardizing a situation that could be even broader. And not knowing the result or the ask of the Chinese government specifically at this point in time, to speculate on any decisions that we make and to put that speculation into possible jeopardy of another industry or sector wouldn't be appropriate. But I can say this, I believe, Judy, you might have been there on Friday. The Prime Minister did say that there is an EV review, and we'll see where that leads. But the discussions are ongoing, and we're in a very fragile position. But I can assure you that we're here to support the farmers first and foremost. And if that decision has to be made at some point, then I'm sure that decision will have to be made. That makes sense.
Thank you. And Judy, do you have a follow-up?
I do. I have a follow-up. Minister MacDonald, I'd like to ask you a question about the universal ostrich farm. It's been very difficult to nail you down on this question. You've been very difficult to get a hold of. I'd like to know, first of all, whether or not the federal government has any wiggle room other than a cull at this point, whether or not you would consider having the CFIA basically test all the ostriches, or perhaps take the ostriches off Universal Ostrich Farm's hands as to penalize them for what they've done, but yet not do a mass cull. Do you have any wiggle room other than a cull?
Well, first of all, Judy, I just want to clarify that that falls under the Ministry of Health. But I will comment in regard to, as an agriculture minister, my first and foremost concern is to protect our industries and sectors across this country. And poultry is certainly a large industry that we need to make sure that we're doing everything possible to protect them. This issue is before the courts, and I think I'll just leave it at that. But again, this is something that could have major impacts on agriculture, but it is before the Ministry of Health.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. So just to flag, we have time for one final question and follow-up. Nous avons le temps pour une dernière question et suivi. So the last question will go to, and follow-up will go to Sean Haney from Real Agriculture.
Hello, Mr. Minister. The industry groups like CCGA and the Canola Council, they've been pushing for a ban on used cooking oil, UCO, coming out of China. What is this? You mentioned this to me in an interview as well on Friday. What is the status of that decision? Will it happen? Who's it dependent on? And do you have ECCC on side with that decision?
Thanks for the question, Sean. You know, Sean, there's been a lot of discussions around the biofuels and the cooking oil coming out of China, and it's in the midst of trade negotiations right now with China. So we have to be very strategic in how we approach this, but it's certainly something that's on our radar. And as I said before, if it's putting us at an unfair advantage, then we have to address it at some point. Right now, with the diplomatic solutions that we're trying to come to the forefront on all of this, might not be the appropriate time to start challenging them on it, due to the fact that, like things like Mr. Mo being in China. But we need to, we will address it, and it will be addressed in due time.
And as a follow-up, curious about specifically the changes that are being pushed for regarding the clean fuel regulation, and the largest market for canola and its products are actually the U.S. What is being done to lobby the Americans to alter the text of the budget reconciliation bill related to Canadian feedstock having a 50% RIN value for oil going into the country for renewable diesel?
That's certainly part of the negotiations, and part of the emphasis that we're putting on Narcan and Triple EC to ensure that they're fully engaged in this. It's something that we will be likely asking for via the trade negotiations, and it's something that's important to the Canadian producers. And if we're making these changes to biofuel and biodiesel, it only makes sense to ensure that our biggest trading partner is, we're in line with them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ministers. Merci, les ministres. Thank you for everyone for your interest in today's press conference. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to AFC Media Relations. Merci tout le monde pour votre intérêt à la conférence de presse. Si vous avez encore des questions, n'hésitez pas à contacter les équipes de relations avec les médias d'ASA. Merci et bon après-midi. Thank you and have a good afternoon.